Here's the interesting thing. We talked about this with players, right? Players are like working all the time,
Hmm.
and if you figure out how much money they make versus the amount of time and effort they put in, it's below slave labor wages.
Yeah.
All right, it really is. And they do this in the hopes of one day, making it big and it all paying off. But for a majority of players, it doesn't pay off. Um, you've got my butt connected to a podcast at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Uh, I still haven't received my first paycheck from this gig that we got going on. So,
Well, well, Chuck, you and
no,
I are in the same boat.
so
He gets one high in the air. Left field. This one's got a chance. And let's go on a cowhide. Joyride. Sound the horn. The RailCats clear the yard.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to the new studio of the RailCats Talk podcast. I'm Kyle Svetich. He's Chuck Polarek. Uh, I'll lead it with you, Chuck, and then I'll go into a little bit of me. How has bowling been going for you, and how's the past 2 weeks? Because obviously last week I said, nope, sorry, can't do it because I was rearranging a bunch of things.
you know what? Bowling's been all right. I actually had a couple of people ask us why there wasn't an episode, so that was kind of interesting. So apparently they realized the three people that listen realized that we missed a week. And my buddy Pat reached out to me this morning at like 3 in the morning to tell me that he ordered two RailCats tumblers and they only shipped him one.
Oh,
Uh,
well,
yeah, so if that's any
that's not.
indication how the season is going to go, it's not going to be good.
I, and I feel bad because message me on Facebook, and he said, "Loving the podcast. I'm converting to Gary slowly." Well, I think that's gonna delay it a little bit longer,
Well,
not getting his second
actually,
tumbler.
he mentioned something to me. He's in the process of moving and stuff, and he's got a lot going on. But he said he is a Gary's fan, and he ordered some hats too, or he was looking at some hats too. So I was like, all right. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah, and
We'll see Chicago Dogs fans one at a time.
yeah, slowly but surely we will convert.
Right.
And then I think my new setup with the lovely steel yard in the background,
Oh, you're
is
not
going
at
to
the
really.
Steelyard.
Oh yeah, no, no, no. I'm sorry. I'm not at the steel yard. Yeah, no, 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 no. I'm
Oh,
not actually there. I'm
oh,
sorry. I
I thought that
can't.
you were there for a
I
second.
yeah, no. I apologize. So, obviously a new setup because I had to move from one part of the house to the other part of the house. And for those people that are wondering where the episode was, if you don't follow the Railcast Talk on Twitter or on X or Facebook, you wouldn't know, obviously. But with the baby coming, we had to turn the old room into the new nursery, and we have a sunroom that doesn't is not temperature controlled. So right now I have a heater running because it is a little chilly outside, and then eventually we'll get a AC unit. So there might be some podcasts where I'm just like dripping sweat because it's so hot. But it's the dedication of
That's
doing the
dedication.
podcast for the three people that listen to
Think of
this.
how people did podcasts before they had air conditioning.
I don't think they did
Pretty rough.
podcasts. I don't think they did podcasts before air
You
conditioning.
don't
Now,
know. You don't know.
radio, maybe, but
Well,
podcasting, I don't. That kind of. But anyways, I have a green screen. I've been meaning to use a green screen for a while, but the lighting never really worked out. So now I have a green screen. So that's why I have this instead of seeing the reflection of a bunch of windows around me and maybe someone potentially jump scaring me. Yeah, that's what happened.
you know what? This is disappointing because you just took all the magic away from people thinking that you were at the steel yard.
I honestly don't think anyone thought I was the Steelyard.
But I think they did. So the three people that were listening on the podcast, sorry, he is not at the steel yard, and sorry that we just spent 3 minutes explaining to you why he's not at the steel yard. Let's carry
Yeah, I disappoint a lot,
Yeah,
but
that's good. But hey, a lot of stuff going on for RailCats this week. Tons of stuff. I'm so excited. How about you?
oh, so much excitement of the so much that's going on. Let me shuffle through my notes of all the stuff that we're going to be covering today. Oh yeah, we did have a player signing. last week, surprisingly. Elvis Peralta comes to the RailCats via a trade from the Frontier League. He comes from down east, and for a player to be named later. So in reality, I think Lamar is a good guy, and I think out of this battle of people, I'm talking about the trade wise because player named later, you can honor it or you can't. It's just one of those like depending on how you want to do it. So I imagine that in this, uh, if someone were to or when someone gets cut from the roster because obviously you're going to load up the roster before the opening day, that he would probably send someone back to the Frontier League of that caliber that, to at least give them another place to play at the moment. Uh, but yeah, Elvis, he's 5'9", 28 years old. He's from New York. He was drafted in the 2019 draft from the Oakland Athletics in the 26th round. He out of Marshall University. He played 2 years with Crowder College and then 1 year with Marshall. Really, the big accolade that he had in college was he was first team All-American and a JUCO World Series most outstanding hitter. He had he slashed a 336, 440, and a 609. He played 3 seasons in the minors. He played rookie ball, high A, double A, triple A. He slashed a 234, 390, or 329, 320, and an OPS of 649. After affiliate ball, he played 1 season with the Rocky Mountain Vibes, and then last season he played with the Tri-City Valley Cats. In both of those seasons, he hit a 273, 335, and a 412 with an OPS of 776. Last season with the Valley Cats, he played in 71 games. He scored 34 runs. He had 47 hits, 10 doubles, 1 triple, 6 home runs, 32 RBIs, stole 8 bases, caught 5 times, drew 29 walks, struck out 61, and he slashed a 210, 301, 344 with an OPS of 640, 45. The um when he played the Pioneer League, he had up to his batting average up to 320. Uh Obviously, you see a bit of a difference in the offense production. This is what Lamar had to say about Peralta. Um, Elvis's experience at the AAA level. Now, let me just peel back the curtain a little bit on the AAA. Um, he only played 5 games in AAA, it looks like. So yeah, he played 5 games and he didn't record a single hit. So yes, does he have AAA experience, but not a lot of AAA experience on that front. But anyways, he played in affiliate ball. He's was utilized as an infielder slash outfielder utility player. The flexibility could provide value could prove valuable as things occurred during the season. In 2023, he showed his potential offensively. He'll he'll compete in minicap for a role with the team. Again, I was told that he wanted to play somewhere else and he was trying to get to another team and that other team didn't have a spot for him. So it was essential that he was basically coming back to Gary to at least play in the American Association. Again, probably going to be a role player, going to compete for a spot. He does have some nice numbers, but he also has some lacking numbers. Yeah. At this point, I would have rather seen a catcher or another outfielder or a pitcher than another infielder because we're up to 7 infielders now. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not downplaying. Elvis could end up being he's left-handed bat too. So I mean that's something that we can utilize. He does have speed. I was told he's a speedy guy. So in the limelight of things, he can compete for a spot, but I think he could also be a nice bench player that when it comes down to the situations of let's just say you're down by a run in the ninth inning, and um, I know he's a little fast, but I'm just gonna use him for an example. Is Jose Contreras, right? He's sitting on second. You need someone a little bit faster. I think he could be that guy, or you could put that guy in. You could put Elvis in for a potential someone getting just to get on base. Yeah, he could, if something happens, injuries, whatever the case may be, he's pretty solid defensively. So, and you can play him kind of wherever. I think that's appealing. I think it's the speed and the utility that he plays with that kind of attracts Lamar to wanting to sign the guy.
Yeah. Uh, Lamar seems to like to have one of those guys that's kind of utility guy sitting on the bench that's got some speed. Um, we saw that last year for a bit of time and the year before with Will Decker. So yeah, I could see that being a somewhat of a fit. I understand that, it's multifaceted why you
Mhm.
get these guys, and that it's not necessarily well, we stopped looking for this in order to get that. You're multitasking. And sometimes you snag up on a guy like this just to try it out. I get that. Uh yeah, I'd much rather see us having some catchers, specifically something to kind of steer this ship, which I haven't seen yet. Um, and some, some pitching to kind of steer the ship from that side. So, which I haven't seen yet. So both
Yeah.
of those things are, I would think would be a priority, but you're kind of filling up your roster with these guys that are at the, 6, 7, 8 batters.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that would agree that follow the league, that looking at the rosters and just kind of talking around is there's not a lot of one, two, three, four. It's a lot of seven, eight, nine, six. You can throw six in there.
What if,
Um,
O'Grady just came on the market? What have we picked up at O'Grady?
If we want to drop the money on him and if we want the attitude of an O'Grady, then sure. And this is where okay, so let me this is where I think you and I both agree. Me personally, having a bunch of middle of the road players that have really good attitudes. I would rather see a team that that's it's easy to root for a team that is middle of the under a bunch of underdogs, right? Kind of middle of the road to higher end,
Yeah.
see them try to succeed versus a team that's full of superstars that have their head blown up about this big and they're just hard to talk to, hard to root for just because of their arrogance. So in that is, you talk about you observe an O'Grady who's last one on the field, first one off the field kind of mentality, and I don't think Lamar wants that. And me personally, I don't think I would want to see that either. Like if you're a superstar, if you are the guy on the team, I want you to be the guy and treat it as the guy and not just be yeah, I'm the guy. I can do whatever I want because I don't think that's the culture that Lamar's trying to build here.
Right.
But yeah, so Grady would be a little nice to have that kind of bat in the lineup if you're looking strictly at the numbers. But it's not all about numbers, and that's things that we also forget to take in accountability is Lamar has to talk to these guys, and if he feels like they fit, he'll bring them on. But if he doesn't feel like they're gonna mesh with the locker room, he's more than likely not gonna bring them in.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's a nice to have the numbers, but I don't know that his I don't know that the personality fits in.
Yeah, I know there's probably some people that like, why are you guys saying that? We want to win. Like I understand winning. I understand the winning aspect of it. But how many of us that go to the games, the people that are diehard fans interact with not just not with just the RailCats players, but all the players in general. And that's where you build that bond. Like I would rather have Jose Contreras every time he comes to first base and you say, "Hey, how's it going?" He waves back at you versus uh, uh, a guy that played for Sioux City last year. Um, you say something to him and he just gives you the bird. That kind of thing. Like, I'm not gonna name names. I think if you follow the league, I think everyone knows who I'm kind of talking about.
No go.
Um,
Johnny No Go.
yeah, that just gave it away. But anyways, um,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Uh, Definitely an attitude. I'll be honest with you. I think that the guy that kind of uh, sits at the top of your order, that's available right now. I've said it before. It's Aaron Tatakis, and a guy that gives you some power, from the the left side of the plate, is what we're missing in the middle of the order. You know, that number four guy, number three, number four guy. Uh, so if you can get those, you know, it's a different story. Um, Definitely brings in some wins.
mhm.
Definitely puts you in a better position to win more. So,
Yeah, I'm just a lot of things is like when I'm just looking at the roster and general, like I look at the batting average first, and I'm like, okay, if it's low, then what are you doing with your slugging and your home run numbers, right? What are you giving? Like if you're giving me a home run every four at bats and you're batting at 250, like okay, I know that you're just gonna hit a home run, and depending, you at least get us one run on the board. But like if you're only hitting singles every four at bats, you don't have a lot of stealing production, your on base isn't that high, like then it just kind of gets a little concerned for me is like what are you going to be able to do to move the line, or if you have runners in scoring position, that kind of stuff. And I just I if I think a lot of my reservations come from last year of on paper everything looked really good, like we were going to be able to do something productive,
right.
and it just didn't click. So like it could be the reverse from last year's where the numbers aren't there, but all of a sudden they start meshing and people start getting hot, and you next thing you never know. Because the storyline realistically for me is, the last time they had a really bad season, the year before, going on 20 years, they won their first league championship. So are we looking at maybe a repeated history? I don't know. I'm just saying there's things that go into that, but again, it's hard to pick apart a roster when you have no connections to the players and no video to go off of. You don't have the game film to kind of to lead it and talk to those kind of players to see what you're kind of getting out of it.
Yeah, it's my thing is that, you know, look at we got a hockey game coming up here pretty
Yep.
soon, right? And you go to the penalty shots, and we've got a lot of guys that I don't know you want them taking the penalty shot. I don't know that you want them to be the guy that's like, hey, this guy's going to make it happen. We feel pretty good about this, you
Hmm.
know. We got a lot of guys that are like, well, hey, he might be great, but Lamar's darts haven't been very sharp, and he hasn't been hitting the board very often with his darts. And you know, these are not. Uh, he doesn't have a very good track record so far. So now, is he uh, using this as the long term? Hey, this agent called me up, wanted to have this guy, on a team, and to help build a relationship with this guy. I said yes. I know that Lamar's done that before with somebody. So, is that a possibility? Could be. Could be that this guy's, getting added on because it's hey, let's see how this guy could do. It could turn out, but at least I'm getting, a decent relationship with an agent. Um, we don't know, but it's you can do that once, with one player. I don't know that you can do that with like five players
Yeah.
and hope that four out of those five are awesome. Four of those five overachieve. I don't know that you can hope for that.
No, I
And
agree.
that's been the theme the past, 4 weeks with us has been, hey, you could find that great player, but you're needing to find like three of them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think we spent plenty of time trying to pick all the pieces and all of the fun jazz. And you're right. You're going to fill the roster with six more players and six and those six players, these next six players that are coming in could blow us all away. And realistically, you're missing three pieces.
Right, right.
And and we could just be like, all right, well, I'll eat my hat now because
Oh, I just be like, man, good
well, no,
job.
no, yeah, no, I would hope for that. I'm not saying it as far as, if there are players that are for some odd reason wanting to listen to this podcast. I don't know why they would do such a thing. Eh,
Wow.
This isn't a bash on the players that we have on the team necessarily because I want to see them succeed. I want to see them they do put in the work, they do put in the effort, and baseball is a game of failure. I mean, if you think about it, your batting average is a 300, right? That's a 30%. And most school or most, if I go to work and they're like, yeah, you this year you gave me 30% effort, like your grade's 30, I failed, right? In baseball, it's really good. There's a lot of failure in baseball. And to
Right,
watch these players still try to succeed in extending their baseball careers and trying to get back to whatever they want to get back to, affiliate ball, major leagues, whatever the case may be, and them putting in the work, I applaud them and I will never take that away from them. That's not what I'm going for. It's just when you're trying to build a roster of people to win, the numbers just don't show it.
right. Well, and you have to look at this. We all want them to succeed,
Yes.
right? I want Lamar to be this savant of baseball that, pulls magic out of a hat. Um, but we saw it last year, when you don't have a team that has uh, the success. Even the guys that have success on the team wind up being not successful. And so when you get these guys that have some potential, I don't know that being on a team that doesn't look like it's going to go very far uh, causes them to be, gives them that extra to be successful. Typically, I remember uh, a player said this to me. He said, when I was going through college or high school, I was the best, 14-year-old, the best 15-year-old, the best 16-year-old, the best 17-year-old, the best 18-year-old, right? But I wish I would have been facing 21-year-olds,
Hmm.
22-year-olds when I was 18 because I needed, once you get out of that system of being the best at this age, you all of a sudden aren't the best anymore because you're
Yeah.
not grouped by being 18, and wishes he would have had more competition from older groups to kind of continue to lift up his performance. And I think you get that with this. You could have a team where you've got a bunch of guys trying to perform, but I don't know that they're lifting each other up.
Yeah.
Uh, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's one of those that if you have a team full of people that are already down on themselves, it's hard to pick everyone up.
Right.
But I think the more that you get in the rhythm of things, and I can understand bringing in, an LG Castillo is a perfect example. I think he's someone that can lead within and out of the locker room. Uh, Bringing in a guy like a Cooper Edwards just for morale purposes, or Howard Rodriguez, because I know he puts in the effort on and off the field. Like you get those players that may not.
Even a Contreras. You could throw Contreras in there.
Yeah, Um, I could see building a roster and then bringing in those pieces that may have failed from an affiliate ball that comes in like, oh, I'm down here now and I don't know what I'm doing, this, and they can help bring those people up, and maybe that's when you find the turn of events. So if we're gonna spin it in that way, in theory it works, but it has to show on the field.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Um,
Guys step up as leaders on the team, definitely. And not just uh, a small step up either. It needs to be a large step up.
I agree. I would
Both
I Yeah, I think it's one of those. I think last year we kind of talked about it, was you see a lot of times they're in the dugout, they're sitting on the bench. They're not interacting with what's going on in the game. And I think when you don't have that interaction, you don't have that camaraderie, that brotherhood, it doesn't make it fun anymore. Like it's a game. You're out there playing a game. Just go out there, have fun, talk crap to each other, talk crap to the other team, get yourself involved with the game, because with baseball, there's a lot of downtime.
Right.
You could have a pitcher that's lights out and you're not going to see the ball in the field for however long. So you have to kind of keep yourself in the game. Or you might get frustrated by your swinging at everything and you just need someone to pull you back and be like, hey, it's all good, you're fine. Like we got plenty of time. That kind of stuff. I just think there needs to be a little bit more of that.
I agree. I agree.
So speaking of which, I'll leave if you followed me on if you follow the show on Twitter or on Facebook, I did tease who we're going to be doing for an interview, but I'm going to hold that off just a little bit, just a tad bit. I want to talk about.
Who is it? Who is it?
Oh,
Oh,
no, 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 no.
nah.
Uh, the American Association did complete another partnership with Unbeaten Sports Channel. Basically, the long-running theme of this is I believe they're still going to have AATV, but this is going to be Unbeaten is going to air it broaden their horizons. It's going to be more global distribution. It looks like they're going to have a minimum of 32 full-length games, fully produced Thursday and Saturday of AAPB regular season games, plus 48 other live events or delays, coverage of the All-Star Game, the Divisional Playoff Series, Division Championship Series, and the Wolf Cup Finals. All will have like English commentary. But the big thing to take away from this is I think you can be able to find it on Unbeaten streaming services, also on Amazon Prime, Samsung TV, Xmo, Google, DAZN, and Fubo Sports Network, which I have Fubo. So once May 8th rolls around, I'm going to see if I'll be scrolling through and see if I end up finding it, and then I'd be able to have a little bit more information on that. Um, the other big thing that I take away from this is that Unbeaten gains all the rights to the American Association archive content from 2023 to 2024 to ensure a comprehensive coverage for baseball fans. The network will additionally offer select promotional material, including player profile documentaries and highlight packages. So, in my eyes, if you're taking from a league perspective and a RailCats perspective a little bit here, I think it's a if they hold true, it raises the salary cap. It raises more people wanting to come to the American Association because they're going to get their names out there, and it just puts a little bit more spotlight on the American Association in general to compete with the rest of the leagues wanting to overtake the Atlantic League, which I think the American Association is still a little bit off a ways from that, just because I think that's just everyone's ingrained with the Atlantic League being that number one. But this is they're slowly putting it back on there. If they're going to keep the AATV, they're not going to sell out and give it to Flow Sports, and they're going to try to get other partnerships around globally. I think it's a good idea. I really do. But I don't know how it works. I mean, I've never dealt with Unbeaten. I'm not sure how exactly it works. So it's going to be interesting. Once I know more, obviously we'll say it. But at the moment, I know about this much.
Okay.
Um, but as I teased,
Okay, here we go. I'm ready. I'm ready.
I was struggling here, Chuck, because you go on vacation next week,
I do.
and we weren't gonna have any content to cover.
Well, I was thinking that one of the days, like Monday night, be available, something like that. We'd have.
Yeah, but I didn't want to disturb you during your
I know.
vacation.
I appreciate.
And we promised after the GM meetings or the
Right.
owners meetings that we would reach out to Mr. Joe.
Right.
And I did reach out to Mr. Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Mr. Joe is going to be joining us.
Yeah.
So before you get to leave for vacation and before I go to work on Saturday,
Right.
we get to have the owner of the RailCats slash the owner of the Mississippi Mud Monsters on the podcast for hopefully a good hour. I mean, we'll see. I think that we're slotted for about an hour. So there's a lot of things that we're going to be able to try to get to, but I don't know what the answer how much we're going to get to. So before I put I want RailCats fans that are listening, if they have some questions that they would like to ask, just DM me, email me, whatever the case may be, and I can see if I get them in. Obviously, Chuck and I's questions are going to be more valuable than anyone else's questions because we know a lot more. Yeah, just so much
Right.
that. Um, but I think this is a good time. I think this would be a good break from the roster side of things because I know he's kind of teased to you things that could potentially coming to the steel yard. So we could have some groundbreaking news when it comes to next week's podcast.
We could. We could. I'll tell you this. First of all, I right now I don't have any questions for Joe. I feel bad saying, but really, one, I love talking to Joe, so I don't really come with a prepared, hey, this is what I need to talk about. Two, really interested in how Joe's doing this off season, uh, and what have you. Um, and then three, I would love to know how he's juggling between the two teams, and what the plan is there. I didn't get to see Joe very much last year. I think it was only for 3, 4 games or 2, 3 games, something like that. I look forward to seeing him. He's a great guy. So yeah, I don't really have anything that's, hey, gotcha type of things in that. So I think it's just going to be, from my perspective, it's just going to be a good conversation. And maybe we'll learn some things. Uh, I would love for him to come with some breaking news. So Joe, if you're listening to this, pull something out of the pocket for us. But hey, uh, maybe get his take on, doing a documentary like we've discussed before, that kind of a thing. Um, there's so much, but I don't really have anything right now. So, what's going to happen? Who knows?
Well, we'll narrow it down. I mean, last time we talked to Joe, I mean, I think we asked like three questions
Right,
and he just took it and ran with it. So like we may not have a lot of questions to give him in the
right.
first place, and he just may be an open book to a certain extent and let a little light into the situations and of things that are not so much going on in the field, but what are going on the outside of the field and what kind of things to expect in the 2025 season. So
Yeah, it'll be
I
good. I will tell him, I'll tell him on the podcast. Hopefully, I remember. That props to the new person that's doing the social media
yeah.
stuff. He's really killing it. And doing a great job, which is nice to see. Uh, Probably tell him I'm disappointed that we haven't released any promotional schedule yet, but maybe we will have by then. But here's the interesting thing. We talk about this with players, right? Players are like working all the time,
Mhm.
and if you figure out how much money they make versus the amount of time and effort they put in, it's below slave labor wages.
Yeah.
All right, it really is. And they do this in the hopes of one day, making it big and it all paying off. But for a majority of players, it doesn't pay off. Um, you've got my butt connected to a podcast at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Uh, I still haven't received my first paycheck from this gig that we got going on. So,
Well, well, Chuck, you and
no,
I are in the same boat.
so one, I mean, when you said when Joe said this weekend or the weekend in April, and I was like, well, I can't. I would rather do it sooner than later. But I'm not available on Sunday, so that leaves Saturday, and you're not available for most of the day Saturday. So you're like Saturday morning. I'm thinking, okay, but that's like, I mean, we got Joe getting up at 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern time on a
Well, here's my thing. I wasn't, I was waiting for my April schedule to come out, and I send out that email, and we get everything combined, and then I finally get my April schedule. I don't know if I have that weekend off, that the second time that we planned for, but it was seeming like he wanted to get it done sooner than later as well, which is understandable. I did leave in that I'm off on Friday, so if you want to do more of a night cap kind of thing, but obviously Saturday morning. But the thing is I have to leave my house by 11. So kind of have to be as early as possible. If he wanted to only make it an hour, I would have made it 9, but I didn't realize that after making the plans that he wanted it just to be an hour long. So
okay.
it's 8 o'clock.
I mean,
And you know what? And this just shows that it's about the effort and the
right.
grind, and it's nothing to do with the money.
No, no, because it's talking about slave labor wages. Ours are no labor or no wages, slave labor, no wages. So
Yeah,
we do the
it's like this is a family-owned business, and we're the kids, and the parents don't pay us, and then I would end up
right,
being the parent that I don't pay myself. But
right.
that it's neither here nor there on that
Yeah,
front of it.
you
But
know. But the good thing is get back to it. Having Joe on Saturday, um, which is I think is going to be fun.
mhm.
Look forward to it. Um, we'll see how it goes. I'm excited about that.
No, I'm too. It's always good to keep in conversation with Joe. I mean, he's a genuine good person, and it shows. And his love for the RailCats it shows, even though he has a second team. And I don't think that's a concern, nor here on that front of it. I just know it's going to take a minute to get everything in place that he wants. And I know he's made that working for the RailCats a fun experience. And I credit to the social media aspect of things too, getting the front office to eat jelly beans, to say players' names. Like that's content, that's fun, it's
To play
relatable.
operation.
And when you go to the ballpark and you see those people, you know their names, you
Right,
can say
right,
hi to them. You can
right.
there's an icebreaker there. You're getting the familiarity versus, oh hi, I'm here to show you around the suites. No, you get to know who I am, sort of deal. So I always appreciate that aspect of it.
Very multifaceted what those things do. And it keeps you talking about baseball, keeps you talking about the RailCats.
Yeah, and that's
It's fun to see, and it's good to see somebody like that working, somebody working on stuff like that. Uh, I know that Joe pushes for that kind of stuff,
mhm.
so that's good to see. And we keep saying this about a second team, but just because Joe has a second child doesn't mean that he doesn't take care of the first,
No, 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 no.
right? So
The second child's for the experiments, right? Or maybe the first child's for the experiments, and you perfect it on the second one. It's beside the point. I'm not,
right,
however
right.
you want to
You'll learn this stuff in time.
throw it. Yeah.
You'll
Well,
learn.
well, we'll see about that one. But yeah, Chuck, you have any final thoughts for this week?
Oh boy. This week's going to be we got to see something. We got to see. Time's ticking. I did talk to a couple of people this Thursday, and it seems like um, the promotional schedule is close by, but nothing, nothing to talk about yet. Uh, which is, It is what it is. We need something to look forward to.
Well,
That's
this week we have me and you have we have something to look
we
forward
do.
to talking to Joe. So if this week's gonna be another lull week, let it be another lull week. The week after, like we gotta hit us with something.
Yeah,
Um, I just hope that the weather decides to make up its mind. Because I'm you don't tease me with a nice 75-degree day out, and then I wake up this morning in South Bend and it's snowing.
right, right.
So it needs to make up its mind because
Well,
I'm itching
not,
for baseball.
I've said this before. The weather in Northwest Indiana is as bipolar as the people.
Yeah, well,
When you go from it was 78. It was 78 one day, and then the next day it was a high of 36. So, I mean, that should tell you something, right? And
yeah.
now we're talking about getting into the 60s, and then we're talking about getting into the 30s again. So, I'm going on vacation, so I don't care.
Well, good thing I got a heater for my on temperature controlled room. So
I'm waiting for you to start wearing a jacket. You got
I
to put
there
on a
if we didn't get that heater today, it would have been some gloves and a scarf and a beanie because it was gonna be a little cold.
that the fans want to see that. The fans want to see that.
Sure they
And
do.
speaking of promotional schedules, uh, we still on for your princess party?
Set me a date when it comes out, and if it's on there, I guess I'll be dressing up like a princess. So
What was the deal? $50 to your charity of your choice. So
sure, yeah, as long as it's
yeah, better be a good.
anytime before August 17th. Because if it's on August 17th or a little bit beforehand, I don't know if I'll be there.
You will, and not only that, it would be hilarious if you rushed to the hospital dressed as a princess. So I'm just saying, this is
Yeah,
the world we live in.
that would be a
There we
story.
go. Let's
Yeah.
let's leave that in the thoughts of all the people at home, all three of them. Uh, go Cats.
Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're watching this, and go Cats.
The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike three. Wrap this one up in green and white.